This morning I streamed for about an hour, and I forgot to turn on my mic. It might have been an hour and a half. It was. It's okay. All I did this morning was work on graphic stuff, trying to work on some ideas for images. Looked into doing 2D instead of 3D. Haven't made a full decision on it. I haven't moved away from 3D yet. Um, the reason I'm even considering 2D instead of 3D is one, performance, two, my total lack of art skills, and as such, I'm trying to. I mean, there are some tools out there that can help you animate 2D art. So it kind of acts like 3D animation. You give it you can give it a skeleton, and then it can kind of go, okay, well, this is your legs, and so it redraws or does what it needs to make that art look like it's doing something, right? It's interesting. I don't know how good it is. People do it. There's some that can even make it look almost 3D because it's guessing. It's basically doing mental meshing, meshing and texturing. I think that's also kind of interesting. Um, I would really rather just stick with 3D, but I don't know how that's gonna go because coming up with the modeling and meshing and texturing and all of the stuff that needs to go along with that, I just I feel like I could spend a year to 2 years just doing that. Even if I get my game fully functioning, working well, the data's feeding, it's pulling, it's moving objects around. Even if I get all that working, the graphical elements could end up adding a year to 2 years just to do that. And by then, I think I will have gone nuts. Will have gone crazy having spent 2 years on just trying to get the graphics to do what they should do. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about that, and I can understand why games take so long now. I'm doing this coding part, all this backend stuff. I feel like it's very advanced. It's doing a lot of cool stuff. It's going to allow for a lot of functionality and features in my game, but the visual element of the game right now, not sure how that's going to work. So we will see. Let's keep moving. Um, Currently, I'm just trying to implement some. I was kind of going through. I have a bunch of errors on my error list here. It's not as bad. I've reduced it quite a bit. I've had to adjust. AI help me out creating some of the functionality to add some movement in my on my screen, but it also introduced some bugs, which it does because AI is not perfect. Um, I was watching a YouTube video today where a guy said he developed a game completely with AI, and he was going through it. It wasn't vibe coding, so no, AI didn't. Hold on, I gotta go look at something. upstairs. Sorry, my neighbor texted me and said my fence was broken, so I had to go check my fence. So that's what that was all about. It seems to be. I mean, yes, it's broken, but it's not like new broken. It's broken where it's been broken. So anyway, so let's fix this. Team does have an ID, so we either have, what is wrong with this? So I have another class team defined. That's part of the problem. Let's go find the other one. Aha. Well, they both have an ID, but the problem is that we have some ambiguity as to which one I need. This is the one that comes from my user account, which is kind of where teams are stored. But I do need player data, so I need to merge these two things. So I should probably just take this one and put it here. And then city and mascot, so I don't really have a name. I don't have an abbreviation. I think I will add one. Team does need an abbreviation. So let's go ahead and go here for abbreviation. I don't have things like primary color and secondary color, which again is probably something I'm going to need, which I just never, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking with that value. Team names, probably not going to allow that to be customized. I don't know. Do game plans? Yeah, I guess they would have their own game plan ID. So they have to have a game plan associated to them. Because it's one-to-many. Or there's one-to-many from game plan IDs can be on multiple teams, but teams can only have one game plan ID, so that would be the right way to go. Created at doesn't really matter for this. I don't even know why I have that here. For the purposes of this. And then we'll dump this one. What is this file? Team. All right, so we got rid of that, which gets rid of the duplication. And then I knew that was going to fail. It just that it forces it to refresh my error list. Jeez Louise. So, that's I guess it would be lowercase because it's single letter. I convert team to team data if needed. Why do I need to convert? Why am I doing this piece? What is team data doing? What is this whole method doing? Fetch game session data from backend. Initialize teams. Team and game sessions teams. What is team data meaning to be? All right, let's go game. Let's go mascot, game mascot. I mean, really, I'm just going to go into this object. I don't know why I can't just convert to a team object, but I do. There is going to be some stuff. Hey, Kurama, how you doing, man? Kurama, yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to map my my API data to my front end data here, and it's not quite. Let's see, what did I set the definition here? Let's see, abbreviation type teams, user account. Account types, team, custom. I don't think I'm going to be doing a custom. I don't know why that's for. I was at one point thinking to allow people to create names for their teams, but that's a high risk maneuver. You're allowing people who, I mean, some people, no problem. They're smart. They're not going to try to game the system. But other people, not so smart. People are dumb and they're jerks. They like to create names that use foul language, cuss, insults, all kinds of other stuff that you have to filter on. And you have to have this system to manage and limit what they're putting in for names. And then if the game is used by other countries or other languages, you have to create filters and setups and all this stuff to prevent those, to filter those languages. I don't want to do that. It's just no. It's bad enough I have to try to figure out how to do this just for the English language user IDs. And I wrote some code for that, but I don't want, I just don't want to do it for everything, like team names and leagues and all that stuff. So people are just going to have to stick with the names that exist. So it's going to, I'm just not going to be, I guess, I hate that I'm taking this route, but it's just, I'm a one-man show, man. I ain't got time to be trying to worry about all the possible iterations that could potentially come from that, and it's too much. There's a lot of work involved in that kind of control. I don't want to do it. I just don't have time for it. I want to get my game done. Spending weeks trying to get the right I don't know what N.N is, by the way. I'm just looking. Is that supposed to? Oh, is that an emoji? Maybe. Is that supposed to be an emoji? I'm looking at my restream feed, but I'm not looking at it from Twitch. Let's see what Twitch shows here. Oh, well, it doesn't show it at all because I don't have I don't have my previous chat. It only shows chat going from this point forward. Yeah, Restream doesn't translate it very well. It probably would translate better on my on the actual Twitch stream, which I usually have up like I do now. But anyway. So, what I'm doing right now is trying to connect my newly minted code that will hopefully start adding some animation or movement of my character models on my football field. This is the first phase of that movement is what I'm working on right now. And then I'll start adding in additional phases of movement. And then all of that kind of led me to this morning when I was streaming, which I ended up deleting because I didn't have my mic on, but feel free. Go ahead, ask away. So let's see here. I want to figure out, what did I do with my team? I don't have custom on here anymore. 1, 2. So if the team has colors, if I just pull them, I may have to add custom colors later, but maybe I could just pull it from their team info. Haha. That I couldn't tell you. I mean, really it comes down to experience, right? I mean, and it depends on where you are and what job who you're working for. That can, yeah. At this point, I would say for future purposes, I think AI, modeling and animation, which is really not computer programming, but modeling and animation, if you've got art skills, modeling and animation is not being done. AI is not there yet, and it's actually pretty terrible at it. All of the tools are pretty mediocre. Creating asset generation, modeling, animation, if that's stuff you like, that would be a way to go. To me, I think that's going to have solid work for a long time, and there's a lot of people who are going to want that. And if you like doing games, that's great skills to have for developing games. As far as programming though, so here's the problem with programming. Say if you're doing AI stuff right now, that's big. So you could probably get into some companies doing AI. So learn whatever languages they're using for AI. Probably C++. That's what I would think. But I don't, as far as other languages go, man, there's so many languages. That's the thing. You know, what is it you want to do? If you want to learning things like Unity, which is a game programming tool, would be good because, again, AI is not good at Unity. Unity doesn't have a good AI interface. And it may not because it's got a lot of graphical elements or UI elements. Same goes with, to some extent, Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine has that, but they have actually a pretty decent AI from what I understand. But again, you just need to learn to work with those AIs. But there's so much involved. So again, that kind of comes down to the artistic side of things. So in my current experience, I feel like artistic programming things that take art skills. In fact, you don't even have to be really good at the art part of it. What you need to do is be really good at the animation and the modeling of these characters. That's the area. So like you can create, if you can take any 2D image and turn it into a 3D character and just get really good and fluent and really have that down, I would imagine there's a lot of work for that kind of thing, because a lot of people can create 2D images and they want to create art out of them, but it's a lot of work. It's very challenging, and it can be very difficult to create the animations and the models. Um, so that would be one suggestion of mine. Um, but if you're trying to do game programming, back-end services like Go is really popular. Java is really big. C++, I think, might be the best. I mean, everything in the end comes down to being able to program with C++, and they have not replaced it. There's a lot of languages out there, but C++ created a lot of the languages out there. I mean, it's at the bottom. It's the creator of all things. uh, like like God. God created all things, but in the computer languages world, C++ created uh, the all other languages are the children of C++, from what I gather. Um, so you create things like Unity and Unreal Engine. Those were created using C++. C Sharp might be the language that Unity uses to code, but the actual application of Unity was probably written in C++. So it's a very low level language, which means you control everything from the windows and the shaping and all of the stuff underneath. So it's a very low level thing, and you're really getting in the weeds when you program in C++. But it is the parent controlling code, and I think that's where a lot of skill. There's still a lot of work in that, because I think that's probably even what they're using to write AI. I don't know. I don't know what languages are used for AI. There's probably some AI language tools that use something along the lines of a C Sharp, Visual Basic, Go, whatever. It's their own language of some kind, I'm sure. But again, C++ creates those things. But I would get into learning more about AI, just because I think making AI more robust is going to be a thing. I don't know to what extent, because there's going to eventually be integrations. Learning the things that will take to make AI integrate with other software, other tools, other applications. That's the real future there, because you want to be able to download, like you have Microsoft Copilot. Okay. Microsoft Copilot built into Windows. It's got a great voice interaction. It's actually pretty decent AI. It's an older model because they're a little behind. They like use GPT-4, I think. But it's a Microsoft tool, and supposedly they have a version for Copilot 365, which comes with your Office applications, that integrates with all of their Office applications. So it can do stuff integrating with it, and that's kind of where it excels. This is a pretty nice language or voice version. I don't know how good any of the other tools are at voice interactions, but Copilot's really pretty dang good as far as voice interactions. But I think the real future there is integrations. Learning how to integrate AI with other tools, that would be a great skill. I don't know what it's called, because I don't know what tools and languages you use for that. But if you're going to focus on an area of computer tech, that's big. And being able to attach it, maybe even make AI learn how to integrate tools, how would I connect, ask questions of AI. How do I connect AI to this application to create this thing or whatever, and start having that going integration tool. Like for instance, here would be a really cool AI integration, which doesn't exist yet because most don't. But being able to talk to AI and ask it to create, show you your current sprints tasks from ClickUp, let's say, ClickUp or Azure or whatever you're using, and have it know, being able, you can set settings. Maybe you have your own AI interface that connects to whatever AI you want. And one of the things is you can say, can you show me my current tasks in ClickUp? Can you add a new task under UI development for this? And then you can, or maybe you generate a new idea of what you want to do, and you say, break that up into a ClickUp format and add it to my ClickUp application under blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever. You have to give it the instructions as to where to put it, but it would then be able to go in and integrate with tools like ClickUp, which is a project management tool, kind of like Azure DevOps, or I think they have some called, well, GitHub kind of has a little bit of that, not too much, but there's also Monday.com, and there's a bunch. I've looked at and tried several of them. The one I settled on was ClickUp. I was using Azure DevOps. But again, if you could start creating integrations, that would be really cool. Learn enough to be able to start doing that. I think a lot of people, even if you just created tools that could interface with AIs, you know, you have you use the tool that opens up a certain AI, you take in that information, it reads what you've told it, and then it opens up and connects. I know that kind of functionality. That's the next phase for AI, right? Because being able to go in and ask it to, how do you do this or how do you do that? But you actually want to start, AI is at that point almost where it's smart enough to be more than just a source of information, but also an assistant. Creating assistants that works on AI just sounds so cool, so much more, you know, we're going to get there eventually, but maybe, you know, we'll start seeing more and more of that stuff pop up in the 5-6 years. I don't even think we're looking at 10 years, but we're going to have a lot of assistance. And if you want to be part of that, that would be a great place to be. That'd be a great place to be. But paying well, demand, man. You got to get into the jobs that are in the most demand. And I don't know what those are because I don't have a job. I was getting paid really well for 14 years. I mean, I felt like I was getting paid pretty well. Probably I wasn't as high as some, but I was at the senior programmer level. But I was working for a company that didn't pay like Microsoft or Google or those guys do, but I was still getting paid pretty decent for a United States programmer. I knew a lot of people who were higher up than me making double what I was making, I guess, but I was still considered higher end. But here I am, a year unemployed. I can't find anybody to hire me. So, you know, what can I say? It's just, there's so many jobs, or so many people out there looking for work now because of remote. And if you're gonna do, I hate this. I think it's the worst way to interview people and to find people. But learn to take tests, learn to take coding tests, and just get good at random crap. Somebody throws you something, learn to program quick, dirty, simple applications with random crap. Find those books that are cracking the coding interview. That's a big one, but there's others out there that just teach you how to master those tests, because that's what these people do. You go into an interview, they don't care about your work experience, they don't care about your ability to solve problems and figure out solutions. It means nothing. They'll say that, it's just talk. Don't listen to that. All companies care about how good you do at their goofy little tests. And it doesn't really find the best developers, but maybe it does if you're the best developer and you can do their tests. But I think it's not a good balance. You're excluding a lot of really good developers because you feel like these weird little tests matter. You have 15 minutes to build a binary tree. You know what? Which this happens. It exists. I've never, ever, in 20 plus years of development, ever had to build a binary tree of any kind. Never had to do it. I've never had to, I've worked with arrays on many occasions, but I've never had to do weird array manipulations inside. I mean, I don't even know why you would do that sometimes. I mean, I can understand it, I guess, if you're, I mean, again, it all depends on the situation. And so they're asking you for these things because they're out of the coding interview, handbook. There's not a coding interview handbook, but except for the one I just mentioned. But I'm just saying they basically take stock junk. How good is he at this test? Well, he did really good at this test because he memorized the test or he went and learned the test. Does that make him a good coder? No, it just means he learned how to do that weird test. Fake explain. Okay, hold on, I gotta look at something because a friend of mine posted this, and he tends to post silly things, so I gotta look at it because I can go for some silly stuff. Hold on, let's see what it is. All right, let's see what this is. Fake explain verb. The art of lamestream media confidently spewing nonsense with such conviction that even the speaker starts to believe it. All while the audience nods along, too embarrassed to admit their loss. Essentially, it's like explaining quantum physics using only emojis and straight face. By the way, my James Comey article is a parody. It's funny how they have I don't even want to get into it. Never mind, I'm going to go away from it. I was just going to make a comment about liberals versus what do they call them? Liberals versus conservatives. I don't know. I just when liberals, yeah, I guess it's liberals and conservatives. And everybody's got an agenda or a fake thing, and it's just, yeah. The thing wasn't as humorous as I hoped it would be, but I read the text related to it, and it's just, you'll find this about me. People will sometimes come on here and ask me my opinion about whatever nonsense is going on in the world. And you will find out soon enough, if you follow me, that I don't pay attention to that stuff and I don't care. The world has people who are haters and people that are is it lovers? I mean, the opposite of haters are lovers, right? But they don't really ever call you're either a hater, but you're never called a lover. Which if you're called a lover, it's for a whole different reason. but essentially the concept is there's just people out there that want to either sing the praises of something, no matter how nonsensical it is. That's like the liberals supporting their causes and the conservatives supporting their causes. And then there's the haters, the people who just like, it doesn't matter what the other side is saying. They're gonna shoot it down. They're gonna hate it. They're gonna shoot it. They don't care. And nobody listens to reason. Nobody's willing to just hear out the other side and consider that they may be right. And there's people on both sides that are right. There's people on both sides that are wrong. There's a lot of people that are wrong. There's more people on both sides that are wrong than there are people right. Mostly because those are what do they call them? The vocal minority. the people who talk the most are generally the ones that know the least. I'm serious. A lot of times they're the ones making all of the nonsense. And yet all those other people out there are like, ooh, wow, really? I gotta follow these guys. They know everything. And yeah, it just becomes a landslide of crap. So a lot of times somebody will say, hey, what do you think of this situation going on in the world? And I'll be going, that situation is going on in the world? That's me. It's been going, it's like, yeah, it's been going on for like 2 weeks now. I'm like, wow, huh. Okay, well, back to work. It's like, they're like, wait a minute, don't you think this is important? And I'm like, well, I guess, but what can I do about it? See, this is the problem with following people like this. Okay, let me jump to your question or your statement. Back end part to me is the easiest. I love the back end part. The logic, the formulating data, the putting things together. Okay, so there's there's two parts of back end, right? There's the database. That's your SQL Server, Mongo database, whatever you're working with. They have their own thing. You have to build the structures and the format of your data and how you're going to organize that. That's your organization storage compartments of your data. Then there's backend, which some people call the middle tier, which I don't know if it's really even the middle tier. It's the data layer. This is where you get to do all the cool stuff with the data. This is going to go pull the data from the database. It's going to do the calculations and it's going to sum up data, aggregate data, pull data, um, reshape it, retool it, spit it out, and it's going to give it to the front end. Now the front end is going to take that data in whatever form it's given it, and then it's going to go, okay, well, let me read this data and then put it on the front end. The front end is your Unity, your React, your Angular, I mean, a lot of these tools can do some of the back end too, but I'm just saying they're the things that render your code on the screen, render what your back end data gave it on the screen. Now there's some crossover between some of these things. There's some tools that will like create a middle tier. There's some, or some front ends can do some back end stuff, but generally you want to compartmentalize these objects. So you want to learn to build things modularly. So like in my case, I have services, right? So I created all these services. Now each one of these services on my game handle a specific area of the game processing. So like this one will be for like the game plans, the setting up, the logic that any particular team will use to determine what kind of plays to run on each time. Because it's a simulation, so it's got to be able to go figure out what play it should pick and run based on the situation. That's the game plan. My gateway here, this is the way all my front ends are going to call. They're going to make a call to the application. It's going to go through the gateway. The gateway will then send it to whatever service needs to. So I have a gateway service that's kind of like the doorway. It's the gateway to all my other services. So both my Unity and my React application make API calls, application programming interface. They will make these calls and they will send it out to my gateway. Basically, it's a URL or a URI or whatever they want to call it. But it's the endpoint is it's the URL. So you're going to say, all right, well, let's call this URL, which is basically hosted out on a server. That's my gateway. My gateway is waiting for these calls. One comes in. It's like, oh, somebody wants to make an API call to the service, to the game plan service. It might be get game plan, and then it might provide something like the user ID. And it reads that and goes, okay, well, I have a user ID. They want a game plan. So let's send that through to the game plan and says, hey, give me a game plan with this user ID. And it goes back and the game plan loads up all the necessary pieces it needs and looks up and gets it based on whatever user is asking for it. And so I have other services. I have a user account one that handles all the stuff specific to my user. their preferences, their settings, what objects they own, what things they've purchased, pretty much everything that's specific to that user. That's not really the game. It's just the stuff that helps them to navigate the game. Whether their all the stuff that they own for the purposes of the game. Then you got stuff like I have Streamer, which is for a streamer tools in the app that allows people to run these special kinds of games that can be ran basically through website or web APIs that'll allow it to run a game strictly on a visual state. So I can run a game like on my stream here, and you can see the simulation running, and it just goes back and forth using URI calls. It'll allow user interfaces through through the chat box, that kind of thing. So I have all these things categorized, and one of the biggest advantages to it is if I had put these all into one app, there'd be a lot of. It's kind of like encapsulating. I mean, that's what it is. It's encapsulation to an extent, but it's limiting it to a specific application. It's like a micro application. That's why they call them microservices. It just handles one piece of the pie. So if you want to go work on leagues, I can just go to my league service and just start adding and removing and updating and creating league stuff. If it needs any data from the other services, it'll call it. Say, hey, I need a team. I need game plan. I need whatever stuff it needs to pull in. It'll just call these things. Like it'll talk to them just like it was asking a buddy for some information. It would go out and say, hey, can you give me this? And here you go. Here's what we need. And you can just utilize what you need out of that. But it keeps everything nice and clean and separate. And if something were to happen to one of these services and it crashed, well, that doesn't immediately crash your entire game, because all the other services are just running. They don't need all the other services to be up. I can start any one of these services, with the exception of maybe Gateway, without the other services. Gateway needs something to gateway to, but I probably can start it without any of my services. It's just that any calls you make to it, they won't have anywhere to go. My authentication service needs the database, but otherwise, none of them ever actually need to be up. Simulator could crash, Streamer could crash. If I get a notification or get some kind of notice, set up some tools that say, hey, the Streamer service blew up. That would only disable certain parts of the game, but the rest of the game can work. People could still play the game. They just wouldn't be able to use the Streamer service until we fix the Streamer service. And that goes for anything else, like maybe the simulator breaks. Well, you won't be able to run your simulations, but you could still go into your game plan and work with your team and work with your collections, at least until we get the simulator functioning. The idea would be that if something goes down, we get notified, we go fix it. And we being me, because there isn't a we yet, but still, it's like there's a piece that blew up. If a piece of an app that's all encapsulated in one blows up, the whole app could potentially crash. That means the entire game goes offline and everybody's done until you fix it. Which could also slow down testing and bringing it back up, because now you got to build the entire application. You got to deploy the entire application. You got to test the entire application, because they might have a bunch of parts that need to be tested. Well, if I could just set it up now where I just fix the piece that needs to be fixed, upload it, it has less tests to run, less time to upgrade, faster to fix, quicker that my system comes back up and it's 100%. So that's the advantages to having, services, individual applications like that, all encapsulated. And that goes for any encapsulation. If anything's broken in an encapsulated object, that particular item might have errors, but it doesn't have to blow up everything around it. The things that call it might get bounced back, and they would just say, hey, I got an error from trying to access this piece of the code, but it doesn't have to blow up. And then that code itself can just run on its own. So there you go. That's what the back end is. And the front end is, again, it's, if you do it right, front end should be pretty dumb as far as what's happening in the back end. Like my Unity and React applications, they don't do any logic. They don't do any logic. The only logic they do is UI rendering logic. Like move the camera if this condition happens, or if this happens, if they click this or do that, then we need to, adjust our graphics. If any of those things trigger a logic, like a data logic, they'll go, hey, API, I got this request for blah or blah. And then the API will return whatever it needs, and it'll put it up or do what it needs to with that piece of data. So again, it doesn't care. Like if when the plays pop up and a user selects a play, it's just going to say this object was selected, send it back to the API. API is going to go run the play, send back the play results. And then the UI will just go, oh, I got a bunch of play results here. Let me go render those on the screen. So it doesn't care about any of the logic or how we got to that play results. It just says, this is the play results, and I'm going to go render it on the screen. So that's kind of the separation. So to me, the fun part is the logic building of the back end. I like that part. That's where my brain works. Some people like the front end stuff. There's a lot of games on Android, for example, that don't even really have a back end. Now, the drawback to not having a back end, they have databases and a UI that will save to those databases and pull from the databases. So it kind of takes out the middle tier, but that's because it's mostly just UI and storage. It's not doing a lot of logic-based stuff. It doesn't care. And this eliminates the ability to, of course, have multiplayer games. So if you see a game online, an Android game, that every time you restart your phone it blows up, or the game is toast, you have to start over, that's because they didn't build a backend. They don't have a way to store your data not on your phone. There's no back end like on another service or another server. If there's no multiplayer, that's again probably because they just store your data on your phone. There's no connection to other people. There's no way to interact with services outside. So if someone else is playing, they're completely autonomous of you. I would like to build into my game some form of local play as well, so that people could play. Like, say you go camping, you pull your phone out, you can play some football. Now, if you go camping, pull your phone out, and your game has a lot of back-end logic, there's no playing football on my game, not currently, because you can't get to the services. So I haven't decided how that's going to work. That may be a later down the road thing, because I don't know yet how I'm going to do that. Because I don't really want to recreate my services all locally. But I need some of that same logic, and so I need to like copy certain kinds of data to their local machine. I think that'll be an easier part. And then if they're offline, something like my simulator would have to work. The game, there'd be a lot of parts. I don't know how I would make that. I mean, how much am I recoding, right? Because you can't have Go services. It makes me wonder. I have a game with a Go services backend. If I wanted to, with a Go services backend with 11 services, I wanted to make it possible to run a disconnected local game on an Android device, would I have to recode all those services in a different language onto the phone? Language in order to run it locally. But there are some considerations for making the Go services work locally on an Android device. Since Go can compile into static binaries and has good support for cross-compilation, you could potentially package those services to run directly on the Android. Here are a few approaches you could take. Cross-compile. Your Go services for Android using Go's native tooling. You may need to adapt dependencies or rethink parts that rely on server infrastructure. Embed a lightweight server within the game using something like gRPC or local HTTP server, allowing your game to interact with the services just as it would in a networked environment. If your backend relies on a larger DB setup, if your services are designed around a distributed database or a cloud-based, you need a local equivalent. Consider running everything in a local container. Thought that can be challenging on Android. Though that can be challenging on Android, Termux or other container-like solutions could help, but they might not be ideal for performance. Modify your game logic to minimize reliance on backend service, perhaps by replacing real-time network calls with local equivalents. It all depends on how tightly coupled your game logic is with those backend services. If they're mainly handling authentication and data storage or matchmaking, yeah, see, they handle everything. But I don't mind pulling certain things in. Like, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's possible. I can do it. Now, as my brain starts to wrap around how I would accomplish it, it's doable. Now that it says I could pull the Go stuff into the application, local space, I could see doing it. What I would need to do though is my biggest concern is there are some functionalities I would have to have a local play mode or something of that sort where you could do stuff, but certain types of simulations wouldn't be able to work. So if you want to do a game, you could do like a quick play. You might not be able to play a league game because a league game would be dependent on other players, right? So if you're playing a league game that doesn't have other players, like you're playing against AI teams, then maybe it could pull in the AI player teams and then you could play your league games because it doesn't matter. In fact, maybe if I actually allowed for them to create a solo play kind of league, I would just automatically build all that onto their device. I would call it like local play or local AI league or something, which just runs it on the device. So it wouldn't be available off device, just because it's meant for you to be able to just play whenever on your phone, whatever, phone only mode or something. So there's no, where it doesn't use the back end for that league or that information. And I can see doing stuff like that. All right, so maybe it's not the end of the world, but I don't know if I'll get it into this version or not. Anyhow, so let's continue working on getting this going here. Leagues, playbook, test. I don't care about my test having problems because I can fix those in a minute, but right now. There are a number of errors in this file. Can you see the field mismatch in play game state? But this field doesn't exist in the proto. It appears possession is not a field in the last play game state struck, but you're trying to set it according. I like the way it keeps blaming me. Because the AI wrote this. And I'm like, I really just want you to fix what you did, but sure, blame me. Create test next play response. All right. This is a pretty big, yeah, I mean, hopefully it cleaned it up a little bit. Oops, what did I do? My calf right now. Okay, why? What the heck? Are you gonna copy the whole thing or what? It's not copying the whole thing. Huh. Okay, guess I have to copy it manually. What the heck? Okay, something is really going on weird here. I cannot copy the whole thing. Let's create, copy. Paste. Okay, I don't know what's going on. What the heck? It's like, is it unable to copy this code? What's going on? There's way more here than I'm looking at here. Is it doing something I'm not seeing? Okay, well, that worked that time. I don't know why. Well, it fixed the top part. But it did not fix the bottom part. I am seeing a bunch of similar errors in the play progress log. Log definition. I mean, it's still over 9. It's because they're all the same. Yeah. I already knew that was a problem. The thing is, the AI had access to all my code when it created this. And for some bizarre, freaky reason, it just made up its own names. AI will do that. Tell you, AI's like big on using made up crap. I'm not sure what that just did, but usually when you hit save and it compiles, Create test run game response. Getting those errors. So we have run game and get next play. So here's what they do. Run game is the initial call. It's the create the session, get the basic state, where do we want to get things set up, who are we playing with, and then there's get next play. Get next play is where it actually starts to process data. It's going to go out and say, okay, well, we want these guys to do something. So they're going to go, all right, go get the plays. Kickoffs usually to start. And then the second action is it's going to go and just keep calling next play, next play, next play. And as it's doing that, the clock is going to keep processing. And hopefully everything runs smoothly. we get all the way through the game in a nice, clean process manner. I bet you it's going to have the same problem with this bottom part. But create, test, run game response. I haven't linked it to a clock yet, which is going to be interesting. Oh, is this still coding? Okay. How are we doing? Well, we're down to 2. So that's better. Mostly fixed. Team details. Test away team. So I think what I actually want here is going to be what kind of object is it returning here? Home team. Oh, wait. Oh, that's this ID. What's the response looking for? Run game response. Team details. All right, so I need well, it is a team details though. And team details is expecting game city and game mascot. We have game city and game mascot. So why do we need this? I don't need that. It's not even required. Just take that out. That's it. All right. Fixed. All of the test data, that's really all this is. Create test next play response. Wait, is this not being called? Did it change the name? I thought I had a next game, so call next play. Basically, I think that is supposed to be this. Except we need to have we have game ID. So rec.gameid return. We're gonna send it back with create test next play response. This. And something weird. Oh, you know what? I think this needs to be expanded. All right, what does the home team have in it? Tagging of state. Message state, game ID. So if all this requires what does this require? Game ID, current quarter, current down, yards to go, field position. Ugh. Decompress my back for a minute. Just let my back stretch out. Uh-oh. Just emptied all of my drinks. My fridge is full, but I have no more backstock. What does one do when they run out of backstock? Oh no! Gotta get some more backstock, so we gotta do. All right, I know. Sometimes I get distracted. I have to keep focusing. So, I need what do I need? I need the game ID, which is that. Why can't I just pass it in? If it's got... test run game response. Get next play. Get next play results. Is what would call the create test next play response. Shouldn't some function require only the request data? I mean, I realize I'm going to provide valid request from the front end, even if it's going to be a test data. They'll say, okay, well, this is the data we have for you. It's test data. It's not real. And then it'll go, oh, it's a test, because it'll pass in a game ID that says game test. And then it'll go, okay, well, game test, then I'm just going to give you back this, which is just generic test data. Now I could also do something like maybe have it be a little smarter, create more tests, test play 1, test play 2, test, but that could be pretty ugly, because then you're creating a bunch of test garbage, right? But you want a valid play log that you could tweak and edit and create for whatever purposes you want, because a play log could have a lot, because it's going to have 22 players of data. Every player's got to move and do their action. So it's basically 22 players doing whatever 22 players do in the event of a play log. So it's 22 lines of code, but additionally it's game state. It's going to get, you're going to get your 22 players of the data, but you're also going to get your game state, your score that currently updated. It's going to return just all the other information that come with the game, like what down is it, the distance you got to go, all of the updated pieces of where is the game at this point in time. And so it's got to provide all of that back. And then it'll feed something back to you. But in theory, I'm only going to call one log. If I want to keep trying different logs, the other option is to provide game state and then just have it randomly fill in the things that would be calculated on my end. So I can, like, on that end go, okay, well, I'll do this, blah. Okay, and then on that end, it'll say, oh, well, if it's this, then this. Or, you know, create conditionals or some piece of information that says we're trying to move or create some fake data that progresses. I don't know. I don't know how detailed I want to get into the data. I just want it to be able to start rendering something. Yes, that's how we're going to do it. All right, so we'll go to the wait. Why would it be in the game ID? I was thinking update the create test next play response to just accept the request object passed to the get next play results and extract what it needs from that response. That is all it is going to get. So is there any child objects in here? Game ID, quarter time. That's a really small list. How come that feels like that's not enough to get the play results? Oh, it's because it's because game state is stored. It knows the game state. It's going to have to make all that stuff up. It's going to have to make all that stuff up. Because all it knows is how, all the UI knows is say, hey, you already have all this stuff. I'm not sending it back to you. It's going to send, if there was a delay game, this is a result of players on the field, the clock running out, taking too long, blah, blah, blah. Quarter time. This is the stuff the UI may encounter or has in its control that the game does not, that this end does not, which means what we actually probably have to do is do something goofy like save our test run to the database. Yeah, I think we need to save our test data to the database, and then when this calls back to the get next play, it'll go get the test data from the database and then generate whatever it needs that isn't already there. We need it to function like the run game data does. And I think that's the problem. Right now, we're just sending back dummy data, but it needs to function kind of the same way because the data doesn't exist otherwise. So, yeah, I think in theory, see, this would have to create a whole session, blah, 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 blah. Then we go get plays. But we're going to skip out and say, no, let's not do that. We'll just save it to the database, create this thing, save it to the database, return it back. It made an assumption of what it actually returns, but honestly, I don't. I would imagine it's doing the same thing, play game state, because it's returning the same objects, which is probably fine. But since we're having it return the same objects, I could have it just say whatever, and then that means I have to go through my run place, my test, create test, next play, which is this guy. In which case, all I can provide it is that other stuff. There shouldn't be any pull. All I have are those two pieces of information, and that's all it's going to get. So we're going to say rec. I'm just sending back the rec. And then I'm going to take this. And then we're going to go down here. We're just basically dumping all of this. Oops. That should be rec. And all this has in it is we're not going to be able to pull any of this. None of this exists. I just have to make it up. I have game ID. So basically, if it doesn't show it here, it doesn't exist, which means I'll have to make it up for the result. We have game ID, quarter time, delay of game. That's it. Game ID is the only one here. So I'm going to dump that. So the quarter, we'll just make it up. We'll say 1 down 2 yards to go 3 current yard line. What did I put for the current yard line on this one? 20. Oh, because we kicked off. Guess it doesn't matter. Actually, I should probably just set this to 1. 1 first quarter, yard line, yards to go 10, and position, we'll say they got it on the 35. That's true. It should be a kickoff. Play ID kickoff corrected from play type. Oh, so it is. Play ID is not. I guess it could be. 15 minutes. Yeah, all right, let's just see what it does. Ultimately, I just care about the movement and the player positions. But interestingly enough, I don't think that's not valid. Play progress log. He created this, but this is not what a play progress log is supposed to be. Let's go look at my play progress logs. So we're going to shrink you for a minute. I mean, it may be something similar to that in end result, but how do we get there? Play progress log. So I got all kinds of stuff in the play progress log. What's it expecting back? If we're going to return the result of a create next play, what is this expecting? Next play response. So I am getting a next play response, which is this. Game session. What does this have in it? Game session. Last play game state. All right, so it's the right stuff. ID. Team play info is made up of. No, we're not going to have any points scored yet. Has possession, play selected. What is it? Selected play ID? Oh, it has a string. So I got team ID, points scored, has possession, play selections, which as you can see doesn't exist. selected play ID, which we do have, what their current score is, which is 0. Okay, so everything's there except the play selections. Play selections are what it's going to pop up on the screen, which I do have cards that I want to try to utilize. So I would like to try to get that in there. So offensive play selections. That's interesting. Why does it just have offensive play selections? And if so, why did I do it that way? You know, team play info. I have selected play ID. Wait, I had a, what was the flow here? So we go, we run, we call run next play. Oh, run next play goes and gets. The point of play selections is to have a step in advance to show what choices did they have. But you know what? I think my play info still needs to include the selections as part of the team play info. So it's not offensive play selections. It's just play selections. These are the plays they chose from. And it's just, again, it's just the... all right, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go play selections. It's probably not right, but I can always add more later. S. All right. I probably should pass in valid plays though, because I have valid plays stored. So if I'm going to do this, let's put real plays in there. So I got my plays here, 11. Let's just go. They're not actually connected to anything, but we have 2, 3, and 4. They have possession, so that's offense. I'm pretty sure, are these all 2 is offense, 3 and 4. Okay, so 2, 3, and 4 are all offense. So I can go back. So we're going to go PLY, PLY 001. Oops, it's not 1. I don't even have a 1. It's 2, 3, and 4. I think there's actually 4 plays that I would use, but it seems to be common to say there's 5 plays. 1, 2. There's 4 plays. So my game allows for 4 plays. Is 5 an offensive play? It is. Okay, we'll say 5. So we'll go back here. Throw another one in. Because I need to be able to sort, view them. And because I don't have very many plays set up for defense. I think they're only, what, 6 and 7? Nope. Nope. Well, I thought I had some defensive plays set up. Ah, I have no defensive plays set up. At least none that are in the system, it seems. Dang it. What the heck? Really? High motion left, pistol sling right, shotgun, full deep, quick, lead, MTS 33, wide left, buttons. Man, I gotta create some defensive plays. What the heck happened to all my defensive plays? I know I have defensive plays. What happened to my... I don't know. Let's not worry about that right now. Irrelevant. Okay. Let's just throw something in here so it has something to display. It's probably not going to do anything. We'll go 5 and 6. Oops. I'll just throw 2 plays down. Oh, come on. Selected play ID will say play 3. And we'll say this one was play 5. All right. Now, what is my log supposed to do here? My log is totally not what that says. It doesn't show anything like... It shows the ball X... Man, is that really what that shows? Player ID, route action result, which... step speed. I don't really have any idea what I'm going to do for step speed. I have no idea how to do speeds. I'm going to have to figure that one out. Play type, formation ID. I don't even know what I need the formation ID in the play progress log. Play progress log. Why does it need a formation ID? If we're not storing that, we're not reading that. Formation ID has no real concept of what is it going to do? That's like a dead field. Pretty sure I don't need formation ID anymore. Does this even have formation ID in it? It does. Probably can get rid of that. Ball added placement inches. So, okay, so yeah, I'm going to need that at some point. Turnover called. Ball placement challenge chance. Interception challenge chance. These chances here are percentages that are going to be defined by a variety of significance of things. I haven't decided how that's... Basically, that affects the referee is going to put down a ball, and it's going to have this challenge chance, which in the UI is going to determine whether or not the coach considers or even wants to throw a challenge flag. So if there's a challenge chance, the ref might attempt, or he'll make a check to see if he decides to challenge this. Now, the challenge chance is informative to the user if they're playing a head-to-head. Like if you're playing coach, it's going to say something like, upstairs thinks there's this might might not be placed correctly, or it's going to give you tips and clues, and it'll always have this option in the corner that says challenge. It'll only come on when there's at least a little bit of a chance, but you still have to decide if you want to actually challenge. When do you have the best chance? And I'll have to decide how I'm going to render that, if I'm going to render it as a graphically, or if I'm just going to give them rough opportunities. And so the closer, like, the ref places the ball, or if there's an interception challenge, or where can challenges occur, or what types of plays, and this is going to decide whether or not that actually happened. It's like there should be things like, I have other challenges, like I probably shouldn't even be interception, because can you really challenge an interception? It's more like a catch, right? The interception challenge is, did he actually catch the ball? But it's more like a reception challenge chance. Now, whoever caught the ball, there could be a chance to challenge it. It'll say challenge, there's a chance, and what that is, maybe I defined that as the upstairs seems to think there's a really good chance this guy did not catch the ball. That means you've got a high chance. Thinks it's possible he did not catch the ball. It's somewhere in the middle, and then it's something like, they're not sure, but they think he might not have caught this ball. So something really tiny. And you say this, and you give it to the coach, and it'll say that next to the challenge. And you got to decide if you're going to go for it. You only get 2, because that's how it works, right? If you get both of them right, you get a third. But you're gambling on the second one, right? Or as soon as you miss one, it's over. You only get the 2. If you try for that second one and you get it, then all right, you got another challenge. If you try for the second one and miss it, then you have no more challenges and you're done, and that might be your big chance. So you got to decide, is it worth going for getting it and getting that third one? So really, you got to get that first one, and then be absolutely positive about the second one. Like you're sure, unless it's the end of the game, in which case you don't care, because it's the only challenge you're going to get. I'll be right back. Oh. Well, all right. So I have a online 911 session. What that is it's a job opportunity-ish kind of thing. If I want to be a 911 operator to get a job, set myself a reminder to do it. So what does that mean? Well, that means I have to log off and go do this thing. So I guess until next time, God bless.